like the Scout.
The skill drain doesn't really do that much.
Not right now, anyway.
Yeah, it's like too late for skill drain.
Yeah, that would have been. It's a fantastic card in the Qliphort deck because whenever you normal summon the Qli monsters, they get their level reduced and their attack reduced.
Yeah.
So if you have skill drain, you can just start normal summoning them and they become very powerful very quickly.
Yeah, it's one of the interesting things. Like there was a time when it was a very big deal when you had a deck like Twin Dragon, the Fusilier Dragon.
Yeah.
And
Beast King Barbaros as well.
Yeah, Beast King Barbaros, and like it was a very big deal to have a monster that could be normal summon, and with a skill drain it would go up to. Welcome back one last time for the finals of YCS Milan. 1,461 players showed up bright and early yesterday morning, making this the second largest European Yu-Gi-Oh! Championship series of all time. And in the finals we got 2 Italians, because in the semi-finals we had 4 Italians. So it's the second time that an Italian player is going to take down Yu-Gi-Oh! Championship Series.
Yes, actually, wasn't it London?
It was London.
So
just the last event.
One. So it's literally going to be 2 in a row.
2 in a row. Italians have been waiting long for this, and now they're coming out strong.
Yes.
And the 2 guys in the finals are Daniele, Stella on the one hand side, playing Qliphort, and on the other hand we got Fabio, Polito with a Burning Abyss deck.
Yes. Now we saw Daniele take the Burning Abyss deck that it was against before by storm, but we have just found out that Fabio took the Burning Abyss deck, sorry, the Qliphort deck that we loved, away from us.
Yeah, in the top 8, in case you haven't been watching and you've been really missing out, guys, Alpay Engin, a 2-time Yu-Gi-Oh! Championship Series winner, was going up against Fabio, and we actually do have the top 8 bracket for you guys, so let's bring that up real quick again before we go to the finals. In the top 8 bracket, or top 16 bracket, you can see that Alpay Engin was going up against Fabio Polito, and Alpay was also playing Burning Abyss.
Yes.
And the Qliphort Towers were locking Alpay out of that game.
Yes, it was it was Alessandro versus
Alexander, or Alessandro against Alpay in the lower left corner here. We had some other household names, like Leo Guinea from France, who we had on the stream a few times before, I think even in London as well. And Christos Morikis is a Greek player who's been very accomplished. And Piron Aski is a player who we've seen in the top 8 quite a few times, as well as Luigi Alici, who just fell victim to Daniele Stella's run in the semi-finals. So very international field has been dwindled down to just 2 Italians remaining. And it is the story of the weekend with Burning Abyss and Qliphort, the 2 dominating decks.
Yep, basically finally going ahead of Shadow.
Yeah.
From Shadow having just dominating the meta for the last few YCS.
The last 2 events, exactly,
yeah.
Madrid and London, after the World Championship in August this year. And now it seems like we have another big shift with Burning Abyss and Qliphort sneaking in at the very top.
The new challengers has just changed the game.
Yes.
Completely. You've got the new Firelake, the new Alec and Rubik, and also in there getting, Virgil. I don't know why I forgot Virgil's name. We've seen it so many times this weekend.
Yeah, the rockstar.
Qliphort, getting all of the cards in the Qliphort deck from the new challengers.
And we have seen very different takes on all of these 3 decks. In fact, we have seen Shadow with Denko Sekka as a new addition. Then Burning Abyss sometimes running enemy controller, solving many of the problems of this deck. And Qliphort, it seems players are not like agreeing yet, but the Qliphort Towers, they
seem pretty good.
They were making quite an impact. It's not every day that you get to see a player playing a Raigeki
and then just going, oh, okay, it doesn't do anything. That's
yeah,
all right.
All right, so let's take you to the feature match, the final feature match of the day between Daniele and Fabio. And with that, it's time to duel. So on the left-hand side, we got Fabio, as we just indicated, and on the right-hand side, we got Daniele. We got all of the cards that they drew into.
My word, I'd like to see who's going first on this, because although there's a Raigeki right there and a Vanity's Emptiness and a Tour Guide there, really, really strong opening for Fabio. Daniele has got the
Qliphort
Scout, the Trample Links, and the Disc, and an Upstart Goblin just to add a few more resources. Now Fabio is going first.
With a Tour Guide from the Underworld. When that card came out, It was a big deal, but not right away because it was lacking some very good level 3 Exceed monsters, rank 3 Exceed monsters. But shortly after, especially when Zen Mains was released,
Yeah, you got
this
Zen
changed
Mains,
completely.
Ghost Trick Alucard.
Leviair.
Yeah, Leviair. Just so many rank 3s that were just fantastic.
And Leviathan Dragon as well. All right, so this is the opening that we have seen quite a few times this weekend from Fabio, with the Burning Abyss going for Dante, Traveler of the Burning Abyss, and he's not wasting any time.
Graph gets sent to the graveyard. The 3 mills, an Alex's mill, but that doesn't really matter. Graph should be getting its effect as well, meaning that another Burning Abyss monster is going to be special summoned.
And there we go.
There.
That's a Skarm.
Yep.
And a very good opening for Fabio, and he's not done yet. He can, well, actually he is done. Looking at his hand again,
he's basically going to set the Vanity's Emptiness and the Mystical Space Typhoon. He's going to end there, knowing that he's going against Qliphort.
Yep, and this is the first time we have seen him on a stream. He's one of the only 2 players that we have seen this weekend that are running the beginning of the end.
Yeah, the beginning of the end, a very, very powerful card.
If you are able to activate it.
And Burning Abyss, we've seen we've seen a Burning Abyss player run out of deck. So
yeah, that was one of our favorite moments.
He has hit the Vanity's Emptiness.
All right, so that is very good news for Daniele, and now he follows it up with a Pot of Duality. That will deny him any special summons this turn.
But he has got he's getting the sacrifice that he needs. Now, there is a Mystical Space Typhoon down there that's going to get rid of his Scout.
Yeah, that might not be the sacrifice that he deserves, but it's the one he needs.
It's definitely, clearly the card that he needs, yes.
All right, what about the Trampolines? We have seen that sometimes popping up in just 1 copy, sometimes 2 copies. What do you think about that card?
Trampolines is a brilliant card. It's just an absolutely fantastic card. It basically allows you to search with Scout twice in a turn.
And there is the Scout that we just mentioned. Let's bring that up for you. The, at the moment, most important Pendulum monster, I would like to call it. But there's an MST. So the 50-50 that Daniele had with his MST, trying to hit his opponent's MST, was expecting that, I guess. Hit the Vanity's Emptiness instead.
That's not to worry, because basically what's happening here is a disc is going to come down equipped with a sacrifice, ready to let him search out another Scout.
So there is the disc. And you might be wondering, how is it that he can summon a monster with 2,800 attack? Normally these guys are tribute monsters. Well, it is a tribute monster. However, you can normal summon it without tributing any monsters.
Four stars with 1,800 attack there. Now, milling top 3 drops an Alec into graveyard. Doesn't really matter because there's no effect on the disc currently. Although if he negated the effect of disc would then be at 3,100 attack and would then stay at that.
Yes. And Fabio, he can definitely make a big push here with the Raigeki actually being quite important, right?
Yes. Now it will give him a
if this is
sacrifice search.
Yeah, but if this is the first time in a long time that you're watching Yu-Gi-Oh, yes, Raigeki is back.
Raigeki is back. It's not been back for long, but we missed it.
So 7,200 life points to go. Fabio has an opportunity to destroy the only protection that Daniele has. That means if he finds a way to deal that much damage in that one turn, we might already have the first victory in the finals. And after that, he just needs one more win, of course, to become a YCS winner and follow in the footsteps of Marcello Barberi from Italy. But let's see if he can identify that line of plays. He can play the beginning of the end now. He does have 7 monsters in his graveyard on his second turn.
Yep.
So much for,
Burning
can
Abyss.
you... yeah. Can you actually trigger that effect? Yes, on my second turn. Ooh, okay. So he has to banish 5 of those dark monsters. And I'm not quite sure if you guys are hearing this, but in the background, the Italian audience is celebrating this game.
Yep. Just the pantomime cheers.
And
Cheers.
is that a soul charge that Fabio drew into?
It is, yes. After just removing 5 of the monsters from his graveyard, though.
Yeah, step 1, empty graveyard. Step 2, draw soul charge. Step 3, feel bad about yourself. So, well, he doesn't want to go. He does have a foolish burial as well. And a tour guide. He didn't normal summon this turn.
No, he hasn't.
No, so that means he can go for a 3rd Dante. And
Oh.
that's going to be 7,500 damage, isn't it?
I believe so.
So this should be some easy math, unless I'm forgetting something. I think, did he trigger the first Dante in this turn as well? Yes. That was like the first thing he did this turn.
No, I don't believe that there is actually a...
This is when it gets confusing, when you've been moderating the stream for like 16 hours yesterday and then another 12 hours or something today. Not quite 12 hours, but 9 hours. And Fabio trying to identify the play that can get him, that's gonna clear the path to victory here. And does he go for it? That's the big question here. There's the foolish. I think he goes for it. I think this might be it.
Yeah,
it looks very much like this is going to be it.
Graph into Calcab.
So he only needs one more high attack monster. And Daniele is... There's the Raigeki. And he's still searching. So, yeah, because at the moment Fabio doesn't have lethal damage on board. But he's... As we can see here, he's still got the tour guide, and
Yeah, he's just asking, is that going to be...
yeah.
Yeah.
Is it, you
Have
want
you
to
won?
search, or shall we just go on with the next game? So Fabio Polito, first time we have him on the stream, by the way, winning his first match ever on the stream, and he's just one more victory away from becoming a YCS champion. Now, in between games, both players are allowed to switch cards from the main and the side deck. They can exchange cards between those two decks.
Yep. Now, for Fabio's side deck, there's a Flying Sea.
Yeah, which is excellent in the mirror match, but not so much against Qliphort.
No, not at all. There's also the Maxi only really getting one draw out of him because Pendulums only count as one special summon. Majesty's Fiend, definitely.
Yeah, Majesty's
annoying.
Fiend is going to stop quite a few. Non-fusion area is great against Shadows, of course, but not so much against Qliphort.
Fairy Wind is going to be sent to the main deck there, definitely.
Yeah, 3 copies of Fairy Wind.
Enemy Controller is a very, very valid option as well. Now, looking over at Daniele's side deck there, 3 Vanity's Fiend, which would completely mess up.
With all the plays
Yeah,
that the Burning Abyss normally tries to unleash. Yeah.
especially would be a Monarch Storm 4th, a Shadowing Imprisoning Mirror. It's really a side deck that's built to beat
Burning
Abyss, which is probably why Danielle is here right now.
And there's a chant in the background now, and both players have trouble staying focused here. And, well, it's easier for Fabio, of course. He's in a pretty cheerful mood, of course.
Yeah.
And Daniele, on the other hand, he wants to show everybody that he can do it, that he can win this tournament. And this is very hard to not let this go to your head. So they're done. At least Daniele is done with his sideboarding options. But as we indicated, he must be 100% prepared against Burning Abyss with so many cards in his side deck against that one archetype.
Yep. Now here he goes. He's just gathering his piles there.
I'm wondering, is he going to be able to introduce all of those cards to the main deck? I mean, does he even have room for so many cards from the side deck? I mean, what's something that you would remove from the main deck here?
Yeah, maybe 1 Mystical Space Typhoon, 1 Night Beam, possibly 1 Vanity's Emptiness, but
I mean,
wouldn't
if
really
he
want to take that out.
if he
It's
desperately
basically
has to make room, he can remove the upstart goblins.
and the Pots of Duality.
Yeah.
Would also be an option. Now he's just drawn into a Skill Drain, a Night Beam. I believe that's a Carrier, a Summoner's Art, and we'll just see what that last card is there.
Yeah, it's going to come up in our app in just a second. Fabio, on the other hand, I guess that Daniele is going to go first here. And we had seen this quite a few times this weekend when Qliphort, normally the biggest problem for this deck is if it's denied its scout plays. I was about to say scout planes, but that's a different card.
It's technically it's a plane. I mean, yeah,
that's true, yeah.
It's a plane. It was spotted duality. Now, here comes the Summoner's Art to get the Scout.
And yeah, this means that Daniele is at least getting one activation out of the Scout before Fabio can shut it down. Let's take a look at his hand here. He does have a Phoenix Wing Wind Blast, which can interfere with Daniele's plans here. Other than that, a Solemn Warning is of course also strong.
Oh, there's the Shadowing Imprisoning Mirror.
Yeah, and it immediately gets added to the hand. I mean,
there was no choice.
This one card that is on its own locking Fabio out of the game. And let's go
was a Helix.
Back to Daniele's hand,
sacrifice.
which is going to be shrinking in just a second.
So all he has left in hand now is a Night Beam.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, no, he's setting...
Setting the Night Beam, interesting.
No, he's not. It's just taking a second.
It's just taking...
Yep.
So this is his field prior to those two sets, and there we go. Skill Drain and a Shadow Imprisoning Mirror. That's a 50-50 for Fabio in a way. If he
field.
And he doesn't have a Mystical Space Typhoon to get rid of one of those cards right away. So this looks, from the first turn, this looks pretty good for Daniele. But things can change in just a second. With Yu-Gi-Oh! Being such a fast, fun and exciting game. Fabio's a little bit puzzled here. What would you be doing here with this opening 6?
Well, you've got your tour guide, but you're kind of assuming that you're going to get Shadow Imprisoning Mirror sided against you once you're playing Burning Abyss.
Yeah, he knows that there's a Shadow Imprisoning Mirror face down.
Somewhere in there, so he doesn't really want to waste the effect. He's got Sir and Graf. Technically, he could still special summon both of them and make a Dante. That wouldn't be stopped by the Shadow Imprisoning Mirror.
Yeah, and then the question is if he seems to go for that, which seems like the only real option he has. And if he attacks, then the Skill Drain could get flipped.
Yes, and could be dealing quite a bit of damage. That was the one play that we believed would have been the best play for Daniele, as we thought that he had a Skill Drain down for the longest time.
I think he did have a Skill Drain down at one point. It's just, I think it was MST or something, and just quickly activated to make sure that one of his monsters went up to higher attack, which is something you pointed out earlier today.
Now he's actually looking at Zen mains. It would be an interesting play.
It's a very conservative approach, and I don't think it would be the worst idea. I mean, he doesn't know about the Skill Drain. Just go for Zen mains.
And it's not just Skill Drain that's the issue.
Zen mains attack, and now I do think we're going to see a Skill Drain flip.
Well, he's either going to let it happen and then we'll see. Okay, he said attack. He's just checking his hand, thinking about it. I could do this. I could do that.
Yeah, let's
I'm a man of mystery.
Skill Drain for you guys.
There's Skill Drain.
He is attacking Skill Drain, so Zen mains is not going to stay on the field.
And
Daniele loses 1,000 life points, but Fabio is also going to lose some life points, and his monster as well.
now, looking in Danielle's hand, it looks like if he catches if he catches the Solemn Warning, this could be his game with his Night Beam.
Yeah, and looking at the back row of Daniele, this is so much hate that he has here.
Yes, it is.
I mean, this is almost like a stun deck.
And that's a compulsory evacuation device there that he's just drawn into.
So that is excellent for him. He goes for the carrier, and there's Fabio does he attempt to negate it with Phoenix Wing Wind Blast?
Nope, he's not bothering.
That is very interesting. Would you... maybe he thinks that the Skill Drain or the Shadow Imprisoning Mirror are the bigger problems.
Yes.
So he's saving the Phoenix Wing Wind Blast for that. The thing is, if the Night Beam would actually hit the Wing Blast, that would be really, really huge.
Yes. Now he's getting a shell out there and then playing it because it's now just a 2,800 attack monster.
Yeah.
It depends whether he's going to try and stop that with the Solemn Warning.
Yeah,
I
but
don't
if
believe he does.
Fabio goes for the solemn warning, there is a chance that
He's going to lose anyway.
yeah, with so few life points remaining then. I mean, he's gonna... Yeah, there is the
there's the
solemn warning. So just 4,800 life points remaining for Fabio after that solemn warning activation. And I think we're going to see a Night Beam now.
Yeah, there's
and
the
that Night Beam might already be game here.
No, he's just attacking for
there's no
2,700.
follow-up, really, for Daniele.
No, he's setting the compulsory evacuation device, meaning that there's nothing that he can now do.
Yeah, but he has done quite a bit already.
Yeah, there's a foolish burial and
Coming
a tour
from
guide.
the top. That yeah, so Fabio's left with 2 cards in hand and nothing on the field. And he knows that there's a Shadow
nothing.
Imprisoning Mirror. And even if he were to... I mean, Tour Guide doesn't do anything with face-up Skill Drain on the field.
Nope, and Foolish Burial isn't doing anything because Shadow Imprison Mirror was set.
So all of this disruption that Daniele was siding into and drawing into as well, which is also important. Sometimes you simply don't see the cards that you're introducing from your side deck. Stopped Fabio from doing anything in the second game, really.
Yeah, now he's looking at his side deck again. Maybe he's thinking, is there something else I could be changing? No, he's put it back down. He's happy with his choices. Now, this is the last game, the final game of YCS Milan 2014.
Yeah, and Fabio, his whole demeanor changed a little bit here.
Yeah.
After that first game, where he's still in a extremely cheerful mood. Daniele seems to be pretty much in the same mood he has been in, but maybe a little bit, feeling a little bit better now.
Yeah, I'd say he looks a bit more concentrated than before.
Yep. But both of these guys are having a very good time.
Yeah.
This is, at least according to our documents, this is the biggest accomplishment for both of these guys, really. We haven't seen them before in the top 8 of a YCS or a European Championship, for that matter. And sometimes there's also the case that it's the first YCS for somebody, and then they make it all the way to the finals.
So it's looking at the moment, you always get that kind of nervousness that this is it. This is the last game. And sometimes that does make players make mistakes.
All right, so this is it. The last opening hands are being drawn, and we're going to have them for you in just a second with our 2 volunteers standing behind those 2 players, taking down the cards in hand.
Ooh, basically 3 scouts in Daniele's opening hand with Skill Drain.
And the Summoner's Art. Let's bring up Summoner's Art one more time.
He also has a Mystical Space Typhoon.
Yeah, it says add 1 Qliphort Scout to your hand.
Which is not as bad as everyone thinks, actually, now that he's drawn into a Mystical Space Typhoon. Now, Tour Guide from the Underworld coming down, more than likely going to be getting a Scarm or a Seer due to the fact that there's 2 graphs already in hand. No, he's going straight for the graph.
So he's out of graphs.
Yep, he is basically out of graphs. He's going to turn that into a Dante, and graph should then go to the graveyard.
That triggers one of the 2 effects of graph. 3 effects, in fact.
Yep.
And allows you to special summon another Burning Abyss monster from your deck.
Now, he has hit the Seer that he needed to hit as well, and the Scarm in there as well.
Wow, those are some great hits, really. This is very important for Fabio. He really needs to get all of that, because looking at Daniele's hand with those triple Scout, he's definitely going to find the tools he needs. So if you give the Qliphort deck time, chances are time is going to run out on you.
Yeah.
Not the other way around. All right, but let's take another look at Fabio's hand. What about...
He's going to be going for, probably at this point, the Seer again. Seer would then special summon the Scarm.
Yeah, all of these Burning Abyss monsters, it's running, the whole deck is running like a well-oiled machine, and it's very, very hard to stop. Like, the few cards that we've seen this weekend was a Flying Sea, for example, that could get introduced from the side deck that can interfere with the plays of the Burning Abyss player. But other than that, there's really not much, is there?
Danielle isn't actually running the Flying Sea either. It's actually Fabio that's running Flying Sea. So
yeah.
he's not even going to get a chance to to see it.
And you can't help but feel sorry for our volunteers that are taking down the cards that are flying on the table and leaving the table.
Yeah.
With they're just taking down the materials, and suddenly there's Virgil on the field, and it just continues like that.
Now, there's a Mystical Space Typhoon right there, and also I believe that's a sacrifice. So, Mystical Space Typhoon probably should be played right now to try and get rid of any sort of disruption from what Daniele can do.
Yeah, especially now since Daniele doesn't have any targets on the field. So normally you expect something like either a Mystical Space Typhoon or like a Phoenix Wing Wind Blast in the back row of a Burning Abyss monster.
That's right,
player.
yes. Now, there's also that skill drain there, which is a massive threat. He plays the Summoner's Art to get a Scout.
So he's definitely going to end up with a very big monster on the field.
A huge monster.
I can say spoiler alert, this is definitely what's going to happen here. Why does he not immediately just do the second search?
He doesn't have to. He's just checking the graveyard thing just to make sure that there's no tricks that's going to go off, because of course Dante's effect is going to activate and Seer's effect is also going to activate.
Right, so this is Fabio's hand. So some action coming next
Okay.
turn with a tour guide, unless Daniele sets, and I think we can assume that this will be the case, the skill drain. Qliphort Carrier being summoned, equipped with the Sacrifice.
Skill drain being set, along with that second Summoner's Art, I believe.
And well, that concludes the turn for Daniele, doesn't it?
And it does. Now, he is basically just trying to bait an attack by the look of it.
Well, I mean, there's definitely going to be an activation of Virgil first, right?
Definitely. He's going to try it. Skill drain's going to stop it.
Yeah.
Yep, there it is. If he doesn't stop this, then bad things are going to happen. There we go.
There is the skill drain. 1,000 life points, but that's a very, very small investment for Daniele here.
Especially because now he has a 2,700 attack monster that cannot be destroyed by battle on the field.
Let's bring the carrier up for you again.
And when that's tributed, it's going to bounce a card back to the hand, or back to the extra deck.
Mostly going to be one of those monsters that were summoned from the extra deck earlier. So Fabio sees that writing on the wall. However, he did draw into the one card that solves these kinds of problems for the Burning Abyss player.
Yeah.
It's a Fire Lake of the Burning Abyss. And when you read it for the first time, you might be thinking, wow, such a big investment sending 2 face-up Burning Abyss monsters you control to the graveyard. But then you can target up to 3 cards. So it looks like a very even effect, both players losing 3 cards. However, it's not really the case, is it?
No. Burning Abyss have a lot of graveyard effects, meaning that Fire Lake is not as much of a cost as you'd think.
So how can Fabio get around that skill drain at the moment, apart from the Fire Lake? I think there's nothing, right?
I think that's his only option currently in hand. I think he's attempting to do something with Cowcab there.
Yeah, and even with skill drain on the field, he can of course still exceed summon, and he can still activate the effect of Dante, even though he's not going to get the attack boost, which is part of the effect.
Targeting the face down.
And
Returning that Summoner's Art back to hand.
why did that one... it's still Fabio's turn, is it?
Yep. It's a Cowcab that just returned the Summoner's Art back to hand there. That was removed from Dante.
So I'm slightly confused why all those Dantes are in attack position, because I don't see a way how he can...
Oh, he's just attacked to be able to get more Burning Abyss back into his hand.
That's very smart.
It's an interesting play.
He's recycling his cards by...
He's getting another Fire Lake back into hand, so he knows that it's definitely going to get off. Now, what maybe he doesn't know is the fact that, well, he does know that there's a second Scout in hand, but maybe he doesn't know that there is that Summoner's Art right there. So there's going to be 2 searches that's happening next turn regardless for
And he's just,
for Daniele.
I think he's shuffling the 2 copies of Fire Lake.
Yeah.
That's really comedic.
I think he's kind of trying to say one of these is Fire Lake. You don't know that both of them are Fire Lake.
And our judge must be feeling like, really? It's like, can you tell me what you said here? And it's just like, Hopefully the volunteer did not make a face, so Daniele might be perfectly aware of what's going on here. So Daniele has the Scout, a Summoner's Art, and a Pot of Duality in hand. Is he going to activate the Pot of Duality here? Or is it too much of a cost to...
It's quite a cost to not be able to special summon
this turn,
at
yeah.
this point. Okay, so he's paid the 800, and Fire Lake is going to happen.
Yeah, after Daniele has paid the
Now,
800, of course.
Yes, exactly as I expected. There is going to be a case of Graf going to the graveyard, activating, special summoning another Burning Abyss monster from the deck to the field, meaning that he is then able to play a second Fire Lake.
That is very, very big. Being able to stop your opponent from going off twice in one turn with the Fire Lake is excellent setup from Fabio, really.
Yeah.
And also returning that Fire Lake. I mean, obviously he saw what was coming. And he knew that Daniele would go searching with Scout first before doing anything else. So he might have been expecting this very series of plays from the last turn on. And this is why he played in this masterful way, I would like to say here.
And the sacrifice getting a carrier.
So, and the big question is what is going through Daniele's head here. I think he's just going to go one step at a time. So the next play for him is going to be the Scout.
Yep.
And when will the second Fire Lake of the Burning Abyss get activated?
Probably after the carrier is summoned. It's probably going to be a carrier with a sacrifice, but maybe he's going to see that coming and destroy it before the sacrifice can be equipped.
There's the Summoner's Art. That gets him another Scout.
Interesting that he's giving that information to Fabio before. Scout paying 800. Are you going to stop it? Not yet.
Not yet. Why would you? So Fabio was aware that Daniele had 2 Scouts in hand, so there's really no point in activating the Fire Lake now.
Yeah, that's correct.
It's also, you're not gaining a lot when you're just destroying one opposing card, whereas you have the ability to destroy up to 3 cards on the field.
Well, Danielle had the ability to be able to wipe his opponent's field and then carry on with his Scout play. He's just missed out there, basically, by giving that bit of information away a bit too early.
Now, how could he have wiped his opponent's field?
Because as soon as he was to play the carrier, knowing that there's a sacrifice in hand, which is what he probably would have got originally, he would have been able to... The Fire Lake would have come down. Now, he's going to try and pendulum summon here. It depends whether...
Okay, this is when the
second
Fire Lake gets activated, and this time Fabio doesn't get as much value out of the Fire Lake as the first time, with Virgil being sent to the graveyard. And the Rubik.
Let's stop the pendulum summon.
Yeah, so what Daniele is really... Yeah, he's out of it. I was about to say that just now. He's only got a Pot of Duality, but he attempted... Did he, even if he didn't attempt to pendulum summon, he only gets another monster, another card. And no matter what it is, there's no way for him to stop what's coming the following turn from Fabio Polito with his Burning Abyss monsters.
I'm not quite sure, actually. No, Daniele apparently won at that point. Daniele had a one-turn kill. Actually...
I missed that.
He was able to...
The second Fire Lake destroyed those 2 cards.
Yeah. Maybe it wasn't counted as the fact... Right, okay. He wasn't... He didn't declare that he was pendulum summoning.
Okay.
Just yet. So the Fire Lake was played prematurely, meaning that they all went into the graveyard, and then he played another Scout. Scout gets... Another gets anything. Disc goes onto the side, and then...
Like you said, that...
Disc could actually be tribute summoned, meaning that Disc would then be able to come out,
But
special
this-
summon 2 other cards, and then just attack the game.
But this sounds like a misplay.
It feels that way.
Is it not?
Well, I'll be honest with you, it's because I don't know the ruling. Currently. If the ruling is that if you attempt to pendulum summon and the pendulum monster is destroyed in the pendulum zones, does that count as your pendulum summon for the turn? Is what the answer, the question that I would need answered to be able to answer whether that was a misplay or not.
All right, but in any case, Qliphort taking YCS Milan 2014
Yes.
with an explosive finish, in fact.
Yes, definitely.
His opponent, Fabio, was still on 6,000 life points, I think.
Yeah.
And then one big pendulum summon.
Yeah, it was basically going to be a pendulum summon of just the cards, just the 2 pendulum monsters that have been destroyed.
Yeah.
Tributing them for the disc, which, well, Fabio knew was in Daniele's hand as well, which then special summons 2 other monsters from the deck, both on 1800 attack.
Yeah.
Well, they would be on 2,100 attack because they gain 300 attack from the disc. So one massive attack just takes out the 6,000 life points.
Right. So we did talk to quite. We have some technical difficulties with us trying out microphones that we're going to use for the award ceremony. Yeah, this is almost like other streams here where several people are commenting, and so. Qliphort, going into the weekend, I talked to quite a few of the veterans of the game. We had players like Claudio Kirchmeier, Umut Serin, Patrick Rieder, Joshua Schmidt, Alpay Engen. This list goes on and on and on. Stefano Memolia and so on. All of those guys were either playing Shadow or Burning Abyss.
Yep.
I think not a single one, almost not a single one. Rodrigo Togoris is like the one that I can think of right now, was playing Qliphort. And their logic being that they think Burning Abyss is the one deck that is best equipped to take this tournament down.
Now, clearly they were incorrect. And clearly Qliphort was the better deck in this case.
Yeah,
and that's
right.
why all of those big name players were suddenly taken out of the tournament by a deck that can beat them.
You're making this clearly joke again that nobody's catching up on, right?
A lot of people are. It's just you.
Okay.
I've seen a lot of comments on the stream.
All right, so contrary to what most of the veterans believed, Qliphort was the best deck. Of the tournament today. We had the statistics down, so let's take another look. Going into the top 32, we had 9 Qliphort decks, 28% of the field, and they didn't quite double in numbers, but they went up to 38% in the top 16, and it just continued like that.
So yes, in the top 16, was quite a large number there of Qliphort. Qliphort then actually went up to 38%. Matching
in the top 8. Yeah, matching
in the top
Burning
8,
Abyss.
and then the top 4 was 50-50.
50-50, yeah. Split down exactly in the middle, and it was never Qliphort versus Qliphort and Burning Abyss versus Burning Abyss.
Nope.
It was quite the opposite, and we had very different results. With one time Burning Abyss being more successful and kicking the Qliphort player out of competition, and one time the other way around.
Yes. Well, as we said before, it's all of the decks are very, very similar, including the side decks. So it's literally been a case of down to skill and a little bit of luck.
Yeah.
As it stands at the moment, if you get a really bad hand, you're going to lose, basically, with either of the decks.
Of course, some players were extremely upset after they had come so far, especially since many of these Italian players, it was the first time for them in the top 32, and then later on in the top 8 where they had their profiles taken. We could tell because the veterans, maybe their English is not always the best, but like mine, but they are very much prepared to answer the questions, like what's your favorite card and stuff like that. They are able to tell you something about that.
Oh, that's good.
So we have had so many matches on the stream this weekend, 8 yesterday and another 8 today. What has been your favorite moments?
Well, my favorite moment, as I've said before, was the bad reaction to Samochi, which was decking out the Burning Abyss, and just seeing the Qliphort towers come down, and then Alpay Engen, a pro player, just
Yeah, we can call him that,
At
yeah.
a loss.
Yeah.
Not understanding exactly what it was, because it's just suddenly nobody's seen this card.
Especially with how that whole thing happened, with Alpay reading the Qliphort Towers, and he's like, all right, this is what it does. Raigeki.
Yeah. And then his opponent just tapping the card, and Alpay just going,
Yeah. And in the background, you can tell that Italy is going crazy. It's almost like their football team has won the world championship. It's better than that, in fact, because Daniele Stella didn't just go up against like 31 other teams in the world championship. He went up against 1,460 players.
Yes.
He's the one in the 1,461.
Well, he would be, yeah.
Yeah, and over the course of those 2 days, we cut down our field. Like after round 9, for example, we just had 188 players remaining. So shrinking down in size this tournament.
Down. And it just kept cutting down. Players just dropping, realizing they weren't going to make it there.
Like flies on a wall.
Yeah, basically. And then suddenly we're at the top. We're top 8, top 4, finals.
Yeah, and 2 times in a row we had Daniele in the feature match, and both times he really showed us that he understands the Qliphort deck.
Yeah, he knows exactly what he's doing and where he's going with it.
Yeah. So the big stories, we talked about those, but after this event, how would you be building a Qliphort deck?
Well,
would you be running one copy of the Towers?
It will be interesting to run a copy of the Towers, but I believe it's probably going to be a side deck card. The reason why that is because it's really good against Burning Abyss, but not as good against a lot of the other decks.
Yeah.
Basically because the reason why it's good against Burning Abyss is Burning Abyss can't make something big enough to deal with it.
Right.
All of the other decks only need to do
they
increase their attack by a little bit, or you could just stick with Shadow, for example, Shekhanaga in defense.
Okay.
Don't need to do anything then. Or with against Klee, you just need anything with 2,800 attack with a little bit of a boost. And against, those are the 2 there, aren't they? But it's, as I say,
it's
going to be a side deck.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough decision to make for quite a few players. What about Performer Power Trampolines? Would you be running this card?
Yes.
Yes.
Everybody should be running Performer Power Trampolines. Not only because it's a Lynx that's also a trampoline, but because it's incredibly useful in the deck.
What about, I'm just going to go through the few different ways of building. Odd Ice Pendulum Dragon, we've seen that card.
It's an interesting search. It's definitely going to get you something, so there's no reason not to play it, but some people, if you run the numbers, it actually makes your deck less consistent in some way. If you throw it through some sort of numbers that escapes me, but yeah, you find that drawing into it isn't as good as just not having it in there in the first place.
Last card for Qliphort, Laser Clip. The one that got Jake Quincy through the Swiss rounds as the only undefeated player this weekend.
Not great if you don't have any Qliphort monsters. You want to draw into Qliphort monsters.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of the deck. And it's nice to be able to normal summon another Qliphort monster, but what's the point? What's the point if there's nothing there for you to do?
All right. What did we learn about Burning Abyss? One card that has been causing some discussions was Enemy Controller.
Enemy Controller is a great card in both Shadow and Burning Abyss because you're tributing a monster,
which triggers the effect.
Triggers their effect.
Hits the graveyard.
And you're taking control of something. And also you can change the positions monsters on the field.
You can change it Dante to
attack mode.
Where he doesn't have 2,500, at least not on your turn. What about Raigeki?
Raigeki is actually quite a good card if you can attack that turn. If you can immediately just go Raigeki and then just attack.
So this always depends on, I'm going for a very explosive deck, or do I want to just go to the later stages where I'm overwhelm my opponent with card advantage?
Yes, because Raigeki can even be used against one monster. It's never a waste just getting rid of something. But it's kind of weird because it's gone from back when it was a legal card. It was everybody
it was a staple card.
Everybody just plays a Raigeki, but now Raigeki is really, really situational.
Yep.
And
it depends a lot on the deck.
And it just brings back to an old joke, which we used to say, which was that Pot of Greed situational because it requires you to have cards in your deck. It was that whole thing. It just didn't matter. You were playing Raigeki and you were playing Pot of Greed, but it's just not the case anymore.
All right, so these are the 2 decks that ended up taking the tournament. Shadow. Many players went with Shadow because they were expecting Burning Abyss to make such an impressive showing as it did this weekend, because Shadow has the best matchup out of those 3 decks, if you don't want to play against the same deck, against Burning Abyss. What do you think about that way of tackling the format?
Well, rock, paper, scissors didn't really work in this.
Not really, no.
And the reason why it didn't really work is because they weren't taking Qliphort in a European meta. It's the first time that it's been in a European YCS. So if they just say, well, this beats this in my testing, doesn't matter, because somebody on the other side of the world has
Sydney,
come up with a better
which is going to be up
version.
in I think a week. Yes, it's going to
Yes,
be next
it's
weekend.
next weekend.
YCS Sydney. I think the first time ever that we had a YCS in the same city in 1 year.
In 1 year,
Twice in 1 year.
Yes.
And that is, of course, because of so many players from not just Australia, but also the New Zealand and all those countries in that southeastern corner of the world.
Now, I actually deal with all of the tournament figures for that territory, and
did they go up after the YCS?
You'd be surprised how many players there are in Australia.
Okay.
To say that it's a really large landmass with so little population, just dense, it counts for most of the market.
Oh, okay.
So it's absolutely huge.
Yeah.
Massive in Australia.
We will, of course, have a coverage of YCS Sydney next weekend, not with a live stream, but the written coverage, which you can also check out. There are links both in the Twitch stream below and on the official website, so you can revisit some of the highlights of this weekend, see some of the ways that the guys have built their decks. We do have a graphic prepared for you, so let's bring that up on the screen with the eventual winner of the event, and we can again see how he tore through that field here. And if I'm not too mistaken, we also have the top 32 player pairing here. I'm just trying to find it right now. He went up against Valerio Rossa, also from Italy, of course.
And that was a Burning Abyss.
Yeah, and from there, Daniele Stella, our eventual winner with his Qliphort deck, had to go against Davide Sacchini,
which was also playing Qliphort. So
in
that was
upper right corner.
Yeah, that was a Qliphort mirror match. So showing there that he definitely knows how to play against his own deck.
Yeah, and then he knocked out the last Greek player in competition, Temis Gugtsis. I think I'm butchering the name. Who was playing Shadows. And I think he was the last Shadow player, in fact, in the top 8. And, well, you just saw... we both saw the semi-finals as well as the finals with... I would say convincing victories in both cases from Daniele. So that wasn't a fluke victory. I think we're going to see him again.
Yeah, I think that we are going to definitely see him again in future, more than likely playing Qliphort.
Yes. The last thing that if you've just tuned in and you're wondering what did I miss is the ordeal of the Traveler, the culmination of that special program.
Yes.
We have a very special playmat.
Now, if you attended every single European YCS this year, you would receive this game mat at YCS Milan. Everybody did collect theirs today.
Yeah, some players showed up only to collect the playmat. For example, Peter Gross, who has told us in an interview that he's never made day 2 at a tournament in Italy, maybe some regionals, but not at a larger tournament. And he only came here to collect this playmat.
Yeah.
Very beautiful playmat. But he ended up in the top 32, which is definitely not too bad for him.
Yeah, he did pretty well. He's got some prizes and he's got this map.
Yeah, and the little keychain.
Yes.
Then, of course, apart from the main event, in case you're wondering, and this is the first time you're getting in touch with the competitive scene of Yu-Gi-Oh!, you might be thinking, okay, I don't think that there's any chance that I'm going to win a tournament like a YCS, which is not the right way to look at it, because it always pays out to play.
Always does, because as we've just said, we'd not seen either of the finalists at all before.
Exactly. So there is a chance that it's just going to be your weekend. But even if that doesn't happen, there are plenty of public events going on with regionals, winner mats, attack of the giant card.
Yep.
With some of the coolest giant cards in recent history.
Platinum rare, giant Merlin.
Yeah.
So a full foil card, giant card.
It could blind people if you just hold it in the right angle.
In the right angle, yeah.
You should be talking to your attorney or something when you're winning that card, just to make sure that nobody's suing you, because if that card is in the right angle, you're going to be blind. I didn't see anything for the next half an hour after that happened to me.
And also, if you were playing in the side events, you would actually possibly be eligible to play in the public event playoffs. That would be, there's one at random that's just chosen for somebody that's played in a few of them.
Yep.
And there's also one based on points. So the more you play in and the more you win, the more chance you get to do that.
Yep.
And what you win for that is
the prize card, the Ascension Sky Dragon, that
Yes.
you otherwise can only win if you're taking down the whole YCS. I think second place or third place will also qualify you for that card.
I do believe so as
Yes.
well.
But these are the only ways, and I would say that it's slightly easier to win against 4 players in the side event, public events playoff, compared to going up against 1,460 players in the main event.
See, yes and no, because when those 4 players come up, they've been playing in side events all day, and they've not necessarily been playing any of the main meta decks. So
Yeah.
it's gonna. That's why I always really like the public event playoffs.
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it's usually 4 rogue decks.
Yeah. And the last event that has been concluded this weekend was the Dragon Duel Championship, of course. For our players that are 13 years or younger, they can play in their very own event. So if you're a parent and you're watching the stream together with your kid, for example, and you're wondering, oh, I'm not sure if he's going to have a good time, there's a dedicated tournament just for the younger guys, so they don't have to go up against the pros, like Alpay Ingen, that activate Raigeki on Qliphort Towers. All right.
You're not going to let him live that down, are you?
No, no,
No.
it's salt in the wound.
No, definitely. He's going to watch this later, and he's going to be like, oh, let's just say exactly what they were saying about me. Oh.
Alpay will have a laugh about this.
You hope.
And so will everybody else, I hope. All right. That's it for the time being. We're going to be back one last time with the award ceremony of YCS Milan. I'm not 100% sure if we're going to see you there, to be honest.
Yeah, it's possible.
It's possible, but if not, it's been a pleasure this weekend.
It has been.
Thank you so much for helping us out on the stream with expert commentary, running us through all the possible plays of those gigantic decks, and well, rooting for the Noble Knights quite a bit.
Yes, I missed the Noble
Yeah,
Knights.
people really. This is the one thing that they will take away from this tournament, that Rob, Grace, and Hooli likes to play Noble Knights.
I like to play Noble Knights, I like to play Qliphort, and Yang Sing, which is only one of those appeared today.
Well, if you want to pick something that is not Qliphort, not Shadow, and not Burning Abyss, Evil Swarm is the deck to go with.
Apparently.
Yeah. Emre Kitsilates went all the way to the top 8 with that deck, and he was one of, I think, like 14 players that started yesterday with that deck. So there are chances for rogue decks. You can revisit that match with Emre in the top 32 going up against Jay Quincy, the only undefeated player in the Swiss rounds, as well as all the other matches on Twitch. You just have to go to the past broadcast section, and then you can check out what's been going on yesterday and earlier today. With that, we're signing off for the time being. We're going to be back one more time with the award ceremony. This is Oliver Gurman, your host for the weekend, signing off together with Robert, Grace, and Hooli.
It's been nice being here.
Trust